American politician Bernard Bernie Sanders is now well known since challenging unsuccessfully for the Democratic Party nomination to contest the U.S. presidential election in 2016. He was born on 8 September 1941 in Brooklyn, New York City, USA, to a Polish Jewish father and a U.S.-born mother of Russian and Polish Jewish descent. Actually, Bernie's political stance during most of his career has been consistently independent. So, just how rich is Bernie Sanders? Authoritative sources estimate that Bernie's net worth is over $750,000, including a residence based on public disclosures made as a member of the U.S. Senate, a modest amount accumulated mostly during his lengthy career in politics. Bernie's father, Eli, was born in Poland and migrated to the U.S. in 1921, but many relatives of his father disappeared during the Holocaust. His mother, Dorothy Glassberg, was born in New York City. Sanders attended elementary school in Brooklyn and a Hebrew school, completing his bar mitzvah in 1954, and then James Madison High School. He was something of a sportsman, playing basketball and captaining the track team. Even then, he was apparently interested in politics, running unsuccessfully for student council president. After matriculating, Sanders studied at Brooklyn College for a year before transferring to the University of Chicago in 1962, graduating with a BA degree in political science in 1964. During university and the following years, Sanders was a civil rights activist campaigning against racism and segregation, the Vietnam War, but not veterans, and heavy-handed police in Chicago. He also stood as an independent, Liberty Union candidate in Vermont for the U.S. Senate in 1972 and 1974, and for the governorship of Vermont in 72 and 76. Being unsuccessful in his political endeavors and short of funds, Sanders worked as a writer and the director of the nonprofit American People's Historical Society for a number of years, until in 1980 he stood as an independent against the long-term incumbent Democratic mayor of Burlington, Vermont, and won a cliffhanger election. He was subsequently re-elected 3 times, defeating major party candidates each time with an absolute majority. His stance in local politics was as a democratic socialist, in particular standing for the people against major developers, extensively revitalizing the city, such that today it is recognized as one of the most livable cities in the U.S. His salary was all that Bernie had regarding net worth. Sanders had stood for governor in 1986, again unsuccessfully, then decided to step down as mayor in 1988. He taught political science at Harvard University and Hamilton College for 2 years. Meantime, campaigning to enter the U.S. House of Representatives, which he achieved in 1991, again unseating the incumbent, a Republican, and becoming the first independent in the reps for 40 years. Bernie maintained his independent stance throughout his period in the House and subsequently in the Senate, which he entered as a senator for Vermont in 2007, although supported by the Democratic Party, with whom he was inclined to vote, but his independent status was still respected. It is worth noting that during his tenure in the House and later the Senate, stretching from 1991 until the present, salaries of members rose from just over $100,000 to $174,000. Since Bernie had no business interests, he was never likely to become a very rich man, which reinforces his standing with many of his constituents and explains his relatively modest net worth. Examples of his beliefs are that he has voted against forms of gun control and international trade agreements, but in favor of expanding Social Security benefits, including Obamacare, and for LGBT rights. In his personal life, Bernie Sanders was married to Deborah Schilling in 1964, but they divorced in 1966. Bernie subsequently had a son with Susan Campbell Mott in 1969, but married Mary Jane O'Meara in 1988, so acquiring 3 stepchildren. They are still married and based in Vermont.